"Get the fuck out of my house, you pathetic little leech!" My sister Lauren screamed from the porch while her husband Blake threw my last box onto the muddy lawn. 14 boxes of my entire life, clothes, photos of my dead mother, Dad's final hospital blanket, all scattered like garbage in the rain. "You were never wanted here," Lauren hissed, eyes full of hatred. "Dad only tolerated you because he felt sorry for you. Now that he's gone, this family doesn't need dead weight anymore. Take your trash and disappear." Blake laughed and added, "The entire estate belongs to my wife now. You're nothing. You've always been nothing." They stood there laughing while I was drenched in rain. They had no idea what my father had done behind their backs. They had no idea how completely they had just destroyed themselves. My name is Tilly Saunders, 28 years old. If you're watching this, please subscribe and comment Tilly below with the city you're watching from. Because in just 3 days, everything they thought they owned, and everyone they thought they controlled, completely collapsed in front of them. Let me take you back to the beginning. Not the beginning of that day. The beginning of my entire life. Lauren was born in 1991. I was born 7 years later in 1998. That age gap defined everything. She was the golden child before I even existed. Beautiful, confident, the daughter my parents showed off at every event. I was the surprise baby my mother had at 40, the one nobody expected, the one people always seemed to forget was there. I learned early what it meant to be invisible. When I was 6 years old, my mother died. Cancer. It happened fast. One day she was there, tucking me into bed, singing me songs. 6 months later, she was gone. At the funeral, everyone gathered around Lauren. "Poor Lauren," they said. Losing her mother at 13, that's so hard. She was old enough to grieve publicly, old enough to be comforted, old enough to matter. Nobody said my name. I stood in the corner of the reception hall in a black dress my aunt had bought me, holding a stuffed rabbit my mother had given me the week before she died. I remember watching Lauren accept hugs from people I didn't recognize. I remember waiting for someone to notice I was there too. I remember my father walking past me 3 times before he finally stopped and said, "Tilly, honey, are you okay?" I nodded. I didn't know what else to do. That was the first time I understood. I was the invisible daughter. In the years that followed, that feeling of being invisible only grew stronger. In elementary school, Lauren was the star, cheerleading captain, straight-A student, the girl whose photo hung in the hallway display case. I was the quiet one at the back of the class, finishing assignments on time but rarely getting noticed. When Mom was still alive, she would hug me tight and whisper, "Tilly, my little one, you don't have to shine to be loved." After she was gone, it felt like no one remembered those words anymore. On my 8th birthday, Dad tried to throw a small party at home. Lauren, 15 at the time, had just won a state debate championship. Every guest spent the afternoon congratulating her. When it was my turn to blow out the candles, only 3 people clapped. Dad had even forgotten to buy a separate cake for me. He used the heart-shaped one Lauren liked. I smiled and said it was fine, but that night I cried into the stuffed rabbit Mom had given me until the fur was soaked with tears. Those moments added up. At my high school graduation, Dad had to attend a school board meeting for Lauren on the same day. He only made it to my ceremony 15 minutes late. Lauren always got the new car, the expensive clothes, and the family vacations. I bought secondhand books and worked at the library for spending money. Yet, I never resented Dad. I just kept trying quietly to prove I deserved to be seen. The one people had to remind themselves about. The afterthought. My mother left behind a pearl necklace. It was supposed to go to the daughters. Lauren took it the day after the funeral. She said she'd keep it safe for both of us. I never saw it again. When I asked about it years later, she said she didn't know what I was talking about. That was Lauren. What belonged to both of us always meant just her. After Mom died, Lauren left for college. She went to University of Michigan Law School when I was 11. She visited maybe 3 times a year. Called even less. But my father talked about her constantly. Lauren's doing so well. Lauren's top of her class. Lauren's going to make partner someday. I was sitting right there at the dinner table when he said these things, but he'd look past me, like I was furniture. I graduated from Wayne State when I was 18. Started working as a paralegal at my father's law firm, Saunders Legal Services. It was a small practice, just him and me. Estate planning, wills, trusts for middle-class families in Ann Arbor. I did everything. Filing, client calls, document prep, research. For 10 years, I kept that office running. I knew every case, every client, every deadline. My father would say, "You're good at this, Tilly. You keep everything running." But he never said I mattered. Only that I was useful. For the next 10 years, I practically lived inside that office. Every morning, I opened the doors, made coffee for Dad, organized client appointments, and drafted wills and trusts for dozens of middle-class families in Ann Arbor. I learned how to explain complex estate laws to worried single mothers and elderly couples desperate to protect their savings. Dad would often say, "Tilly, you're really good with the paperwork." But he rarely said it with the pride I wished to hear from a father. Some nights we worked late together. Dad sat at the old oak desk, his face tired from his weakening heart, while I double-checked every document. Occasionally he would share stories about Mom, the camping trips, her laughter at his bad jokes. Those quiet hours were when I felt closest to him. I knew he was trying to make up for the past in his own way. I also noticed how his health was declining. The frequent doctor visits, the pills, the way he sometimes clutched his chest when he thought I wasn't looking. Time was running out, and I wanted to make every moment count. Lauren, meanwhile, moved to Detroit, then Chicago. She worked in corporate consulting. She rarely came home, but when she did, the house transformed. My father would cook her favorite meals, ask about her work, laugh at her stories. I'd sit at the same table and feel like a ghost. At my father's funeral 3 weeks ago, I stood in the back row. Lauren stood at the front, accepting condolences like a grieving queen. Her husband Blake stood beside her, his hand on her back, nodding solemnly to every guest who told them how strong they were. Someone said to Lauren, "Your father was so proud of both his daughters." Lauren laughed. It was short, cold, dismissive. "Both," she repeated, like the word was a joke. That laugh. I'll never forget it. 3 hours later, I was standing on the lawn in the rain, watching my life get thrown into the mud. The funeral was on April 6th, 2026, a Sunday, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church at 11 in the morning. My father had been a member there for 30 years. Reverend Patricia Holbrook delivered the eulogy. She talked about Donald Saunders as a man of precision and quiet integrity. She said he believed in doing what was right, even when it was hard. I felt every word. 89 people attended. I counted. I sat in the third row because Lauren had taken the front row for herself and Blake. After the service, she hugged me once. Brief. Performative. "We'll get through this," she whispered. The last kind words she'd speak to me. The reception was at the house, 623 Oakwood Avenue, the house where I'd lived my entire life, the house where my mother had died, the house where my father had passed away just 3 days earlier in his favorite chair, watching television, his heart finally giving out after years of warnings. The reception lasted from 12:30 to 2:30. Catered sandwiches, coffee, neighbors, and my father's colleagues standing in small groups, talking in low voices. Lauren greeted everyone. Blake stood beside her, playing the role of grieving son-in-law perfectly. At one point, I overheard him talking to one of my father's clients. "Donald was a brilliant man," Blake said. "I'm just grateful I got to know him. And grateful Lauren will carry on his legacy. I remember thinking, what legacy? You barely visited. By 2:30, the guests had left. By 2:45, the house was quiet. Lauren and Blake went upstairs. I started cleaning up, stacking paper plates, wrapping leftover food, trying to be useful, trying to feel like I belonged. At 3:05, I heard locks clicking. All the doors. From the inside. I tried the back door. Locked. Tried the side door. Locked. Went to the front. Lauren stood there. Blake behind her. You need to leave now, Lauren said. I stared at her. What? I live here. Blake stepped forward. Not anymore. This is Lauren's house. The estate transfers to her. You have no legal right to be here. My keys were still in my purse, but the locks had been changed. New deadbolts. Blake must have called a locksmith during the reception. Your things are on the lawn, Lauren said, and she closed the door. I walked around to the front. The rain had started. Light at first, then heavier. And there, on the lawn, were 14 cardboard boxes. My clothes thrown in carelessly, books stacked without protection, framed photos face down in the grass. One box was labeled Tilly, bedroom, in Blake's handwriting. Another, Tilly, bathroom. Like I was inventory being cleared out. I stood there for 10 minutes. Just stood. Looking at the boxes. Looking at the house. Trying to process that this was real. My father had died 3 days ago. And this is what they did. One of the boxes held my mother's recipe cards. Handwritten. Decades old. Mixed in with my socks. Another box held a photo album. Brown leather. 1990s photos. My baby pictures. Birthday parties. My mother's face smiling at the camera. The album was sitting in the wet grass. I picked it up. The first 3 pages were already soaked. Water damage. Irreversible. Lauren had thrown my mother's memory into the dirt. Mrs. Kowalski, our neighbor, walked over slowly. She was 72, had lived next door for 40 years. She looked at the boxes, then at me. Tilly, honey, what happened? They kicked me out. After the funeral? Today? I nodded. Mrs. Kowalski's face went tight. I took a video, just in case you need it. She held up her phone, her Ring camera pointed at our house, recording 24/7. I'm sorry, sweetheart, she said. Your father wouldn't have wanted this. She went back inside, shaking her head. I started loading boxes into my car. A 2019 Honda Civic parked on the street. 14 trips. Back and forth. Every trip, I saw the house, saw the windows, saw no one watching. Box 9 held my father's old University of Michigan coffee mug. He'd used it every morning for as long as I could remember. I'd washed it every night. Box 12 held an envelope. Sealed. My name on it in my father's handwriting. I hadn't seen this before. I didn't open it. Not yet. At 4 o'clock, my phone rang. Arthur Brennan. My father's attorney. They'd known each other for 32 years. Built their practices together. He was 62 now. A quiet man with careful words. Tilly, he said. George Paulson just called me. He said Lauren kicked you out. George was my father's business partner. He'd witnessed everything from his office window across the street. She did, I said. Blake changed the locks. They threw everything out. There was a long pause. Then Brennan made a sound. Almost a laugh. Did they say why? Blake said the estate belongs to Lauren, that I'm trespassing. Another pause. Then, oh my God. She didn't tell him. Tell him what? Tilly, listen to me very carefully. Do not engage with them. Do not argue. Do not try to get back in the house. Let them do exactly what they're doing. We're reading the will on Wednesday. Can you wait 3 days? 3 days? Document everything. Keep every text, every email, every interaction, and don't tell them you know. Know what? His voice was quiet, almost satisfied. That you already won. I sat in my car. All 14 boxes loaded. Nowhere to go. My father's house. My house behind me. And I thought about what Brennan had just said. 3 days. 72 hours. I looked in the rearview mirror. Saw Lauren in an upstairs window. Watching. Making sure I left. She had no idea what was coming. If you've ever been treated like you don't belong in your own family, comment below and let me know. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just about inheritance. It's about what happens when people decide you're disposable. Arthur Brennan had been my father's closest friend since 1994. They'd met at a Michigan Bar Association event, both building small practices, both focused on helping families navigate the legal complexities of estate planning. They golfed on Saturdays, referred clients to each other. When my mother died, Brennan was at the funeral. When my father's heart started failing, Brennan was one of the first people he called. When he told me to wait 3 days, I trusted him. That night, I checked into the Hampton Inn on the edge of Ann Arbor. Room 314, $129 a night. I didn't have much savings. I'd been living at home, helping my father, putting most of my paralegal salary toward his medical bills. I sat on the hotel bed and called Brennan back. "Why are you laughing?" I asked. "I'm not laughing at you, Tilly. I'm laughing at the sheer audacity of what they just did." "What do you mean?" "Your father prepared for this. He prepared for exactly this. He told me about an envelope, sealed in his office safe since March 2018, 8 years ago. My father's instructions, only open after his death, only in the presence of all family members." "What's in it?" I asked. "Everything," Brennan said. "The truth about what Lauren did. The truth about why your father made the choices he made, and the truth about who actually owns that house." "I don't understand." "The will reading is scheduled for Wednesday, April 9th, at 10 in the morning. Lauren and Blake are required to attend. I've already sent the notices. There will be witnesses. George Paulson, Mrs. Kowalski, my paralegal, Janet Morris. This needs to be done properly." "Why make me wait?" I asked. "Why not just tell them now?" "Because your father wanted them to commit fully. Every word they say, every action they take in these 3 days. It matters. It's evidence of intent. Blake just told you the estate belongs to Lauren. He's on record. Mrs. Kowalski has video footage. Every hour they occupy that house illegally, every hour they keep you out, it strengthens your position." "My position?" "Tilly, your father didn't leave you helpless. He left you protected. But he wanted the truth to be undeniable. He wanted them to show exactly who they are before the facts came out." I thought about that. About my father, dying slowly, planning all of this, anticipating that Lauren would do exactly what she'd done. "What did she do?" I asked. "Why did he disinherit her?" Brennan's voice changed. Sad. Disappointed. February 2018. Lauren stole $65,000 from the business account. Your father discovered it. Confronted her. She admitted it. Gambling debts. A boyfriend at the time who'd gotten in legal trouble. She took the money and told your father she'd pay it back. I felt my stomach drop. Did she? No. The room felt too small. Too quiet. "That's when your father made his decision," Brennan continued. "He disinherited her. Formally, legally, notarized document, filed with me, no ambiguity." "When?" "March 5th, 2018. I did the math. 8 years ago, when I was 20, in college, unaware. Lauren met Blake 4 months later, Brennan said. Married him in October 2019. Never told him she'd been disowned. Never told him she had no inheritance. Never told him the family business had removed her. Blake thinks he married the golden child, the heir, the daughter who would inherit everything. He's built his financial plans around it. I've heard him talk about their estate, their retirement strategy, what they'll do with the property. He has no idea. None. I heard Brennan shift in his chair, papers rustling. Blake's face went from pale to bright red with rage. You stole $65,000 from your own father, and you never told me? For 6 years, I've been building our entire future. Spreadsheets, retirement plans, even a $200,000 business investment. Around money you knew didn't exist. His voice shook. I trusted you completely. Lauren's hands trembled on the table. It was 8 years ago. I thought I could fix it. I didn't believe Dad would actually go through with disinheriting me. Blake let out a bitter laugh. You didn't believe? You let me talk about that house and the firm like they were already ours. You watched me plan our life around a lie. He turned to Brennan, eyes filled with betrayal. She knew the whole time? When Blake finds out his wife lied to him for 6 years, Brennan said slowly, I don't think that marriage survives. Then he said something that would echo in my mind for the next 3 days. She never told you who you actually married? He said it to himself. But I heard it, and I understood. Blake wasn't the villain. He was a victim too. A victim of Lauren's lie. Go somewhere safe for 3 days, Brennan said. Rest. Let them make their mistakes. And on Wednesday morning, we'll give them the truth. Those 3 days waiting at the Hampton Inn felt like the longest of my life. I sat by the window watching the rain, thinking about the house that was legally mine, but still occupied by the people who had thrown me out. I drove to the cemetery and sat between Mom's and Dad's graves for hours, telling them everything. One afternoon I visited Mrs. Kowalski. She hugged me tightly and said, Your father loved you more than you know, Tilly. He's been planning this protection for years. She told me how Dad had quietly asked her for advice about the property transfer. Those words gave me strength. I also reread my old journals filled with late nights at the office and the ache of watching Lauren receive all the praise. I cried, but I also felt a quiet determination growing inside me. Dad had seen me. He had acted. Now I just needed to be patient for 3 more days. I need to tell you what happened in February 2018, because without understanding that moment, nothing else makes sense. My father was 60 years old, still sharp, still working full days at the firm. On February 12th, he was reviewing the quarterly business accounts when he found a discrepancy. $65,000 missing, 3 transactions spread over 6 weeks. The authorization signatures all said, Lauren Saunders. He called me into his office. I was 20, working as his paralegal, still learning the job. Did you authorize any large transfers in January? He asked. No. Why? His face had gone pale. Someone did. The bank statements showed 3 transfers, $22,000 on January 8th, $18,000 on January 15th, $25,000 on February 2nd, all to an external account belonging to someone named Tyler Hoffman. Lauren had access to the business account because my father had added her years earlier, back when he still trusted her, back when he thought she'd eventually join the practice. On February 15th, he called her, asked her to come to Ann Arbor. She drove from Detroit, where she'd been living at the time. They met at the house at 7 in the evening. I was upstairs in my room. I heard voices. My father's voice, controlled but strained. Lauren's voice, defensive. Where's the $65,000? My father asked. Silence. You took it from the business account. I have the records. I need to know why. I was going to pay it back. That's not what I asked. More silence. Then Lauren's voice, smaller now. I made some mistakes. Gambling, my father said. Not a question, a statement. And who's Tyler Hoffman? Someone I was seeing. He had legal trouble, false charges. I helped with his attorney fees. My father's voice cracked then. I heard it from upstairs. The man who never cried. You stole from your family, Lauren. You took money that belonged to the business. Money that pays Tilly's salary. Money that keeps this office running. I made a mistake. You made a choice. I sat at the top of the stairs listening, heartbroken for my father. Later, Lauren told him she'd pay it back. Give her a year. She'd pay every cent. He shook his head. It's not about the money. I trusted you. I put your name on that account because you were my daughter. Because I believed in you. I'm still your daughter. You betrayed the family. If clients find out, my reputation is destroyed. I can't leave my legacy to someone who did that. That night, my father didn't sleep. I heard him in his office until 3 a.m, making calls, preparing documents. On March 5th, 2018, he met with Arthur Brennan. They drafted a formal disinheritance document. The language was precise. Lauren Elizabeth Saunders is hereby removed as beneficiary from any and all estate planning documents, wills, trusts, and inheritance rights. It was notarized that day. Signed by Donald Saunders, witnessed by Arthur Brennan and George Paulson, filed in Brennan's office safe. That night, my father called Lauren, told her what he'd done. She screamed. She cried. She said he was overreacting, said it wasn't fair. He said, "Fair would have been reporting you to the police. I'm protecting the family name, but I can't trust you with anything else." Lauren stopped coming to Ann Arbor after that. Stopped calling. In June 2018, 4 months later, she met Blake Ashford at a networking event in Chicago. A pharmaceutical sales director. Successful. Confident. Completely unaware that the woman he was falling for had just been cut out of her family's estate. In October 2019, they got married, and Lauren told Blake she was Donald Saunders' beloved daughter, the future heir to a substantial estate. She never mentioned the theft. She never mentioned the disinheritance. She built their entire relationship on a lie, and for 6 years, Blake believed her. After my father disinherited Lauren, he started moving assets into my name. Not all at once. Slowly, carefully. Making sure every transfer was legal, documented, irreversible. In June 2020, when I was 22, he transferred half the business ownership to me. Saunders Legal Services became a legal partnership. 50% Donald Saunders, 50% Tilly Saunders. We filed the paperwork with Michigan's Licensing and Regulatory Affairs Office. It was official. "You're a partner now," he told me. "Equal stake. When I'm gone, you own the whole thing." "Dad, why are you talking like this? You're only 62. He touched his chest, smiled sadly. "I'm getting older, Tilly. I need to be smart." He'd been diagnosed with a heart condition the year before. Genetic predisposition. His father had died of a heart attack at 66. The doctors managed it with medication, but they warned him. His ejection fraction was declining. Lifestyle changes could help. But he needed to get his affairs in order. In March 2021, he did something even bigger. He called me into his office at home. "I'm deeding the house to you." I stared at him. "What? Why?" "Because if it's in my name when I die, Lauren will fight for it. If it's in your name, there's nothing to fight about. You already own it. But this is your house. It's been your home longer than it was mine. Your mother's here. Your childhood's here. It should be yours." On March 18th, 2021, we went to Brennan's office. My father signed a quitclaim deed. 623 Oakwood Avenue, Ann Arbor, Michigan. From Donald James Saunders to Tilly Mae Saunders. It was filed that same day with the Washtenaw County Clerk's Office. Recorded in Book 5829, page 112. Public record. Anyone could have checked. Anyone could have looked it up. Lauren never did. I cried that day, not from happiness, from understanding. My father was preparing to die, and he wanted to make sure I wouldn't be erased when he was gone. Between 2020 and 2023, he changed every beneficiary designation he could. Life insurance, $285,000. Beneficiary, Tilly Saunders. Retirement accounts, $220,000. Beneficiary, Tilly Saunders. Bank accounts with payable on death designations, $83,000. Beneficiary, Tilly Saunders. All of these bypassed probate. All of these went directly to me the moment he died. By 2025, his health was declining faster. More hospital visits, EKGs showing strain. He knew he didn't have much time left. In January 2026, 3 months before he died, he did one final thing. He called Brennan and asked him to come to the house with a camera. My father recorded a video, 18 minutes long, sitting in his office, looking directly at the camera. My name is Donald James Saunders. Today is January 15th, 2026. I'm 68 years old and I'm of sound mind. I'm recording this because when I die, my daughter Lauren will likely claim she's the rightful heir to my estate. I want there to be no doubt. Lauren Elizabeth Saunders was formally disinherited on March 5, 2018, after she stole $65,000 from my business. The disinheritance stands. My estate goes to Tilly Mae Saunders. She owns the house. She owns the business. She's the beneficiary of my accounts. I did this to protect her. This is my final word. Brennan kept that video, along with all the other documents. In early April, my father's condition worsened rapidly. On April 2nd, 2 days before he died, we sat together in the living room. He was in his chair, too weak to do much else. Tilly, he said, when I'm gone, Lauren is going to try to take everything. She's going to claim the house, the business. She's going to tell Blake it all belongs to her. I know. Let her. Don't fight her immediately. Let her show who she is. And then let Brennan handle it. Why wait? Because the truth is more powerful when people reveal themselves first. He looked at me, his eyes tired but clear. Everything is ready. The will, the documents, the video. You're going to be okay, Tilly. I held his hand. The next morning, April 3rd, I found him in that same chair. His heart had stopped during the night. The paramedic said it was quick, peaceful. I called Lauren at 9 that morning. Her voice was flat, no tears. Her first words, "What about the will?" Between April 3rd and April 6th, Lauren took control of the funeral planning. She chose the casket, the flowers, the eulogy speaker. She acted like the grieving daughter in charge. She put the $8,500 funeral cost on her credit card and told Blake they'd reimburse from the estate. I offered to help pay. She said, "Don't worry about it. Once the estate settles, it's all covered." Blake had been planning for the inheritance for years. I'd overheard him talking about it at family events. He treated it like guaranteed income, like a retirement plan. He had spreadsheets, projections of estate value, distribution timelines, tax implications, investment strategies. He'd shown them to Lauren. She'd nodded along, never corrected him, never said, "Actually, there's something you should know." Blake had a business opportunity lined up, a pharmaceutical startup called GenMed Partners, focused on generic drug distribution. Minimum investment, $200,000. Projected return, 30% in 3 years. The day before the funeral, I heard him talking to Lauren in the kitchen. I talked to the GenMed guys again. They're closing the funding round in May. If we can get $200,000 from the estate by then, we're in. Lauren said, "We'll have way more than that. The house alone is probably worth, what, 650? 700? At least." Blake smiled. He had no idea. He thought he was planning a future. He was planning with money that didn't exist. Lauren knew. She'd known for 8 years. But she let him believe. She let him plan. She let him build his entire financial strategy on a foundation that was already gone. After the funeral, after they kicked me out, they walked through the house making plans. Blake called 3 real estate agents between April 6th and 8th. Got valuations. $685,000 to $720,000, depending on repairs and staging. On April 8th, the night before the will reading, Blake poured champagne. I wasn't there, but Mrs. Kowalski told me later she'd seen them through the window. Toasting. "Tomorrow changes everything for us," Blake said, raising his glass, "to Donald's legacy and to our future." Lauren clinked glasses, said nothing. She knew what was coming, or she thought she did. On April 7th, I met George Paulson for lunch, Zingerman's Delicatessen, an Ann Arbor landmark. George had been my father's business partner for 25 years. He was 63, steady, the kind of man who kept his word. "I heard what Lauren did," he said. "Kicking you out at the funeral. That's unconscionable." "Did you know about the disinheritance?" "I signed as witness in 2018. Your father made me promise not to tell anyone. I kept that promise." "Why did he do it?" George leaned back, looked tired. "Because she stole from us, Tilly. From the business we built. And when Donald confronted her, she didn't apologize. She didn't show remorse. She just said she'd pay it back. She never did." He pulled out a folder. Business records from February 2018. Bank statements showing the $65,000 theft. Transfer authorizations with Lauren's signature. "I'll be at the will reading," George said. "I'll testify to everything if needed. Your father was my friend, and what Lauren did broke his heart." On April 8th, I visited Mrs. Kowalski. She invited me in, made tea, sat me down at her kitchen table. "I've known you since you were born, sweetheart. I watched your mother bring you home from the hospital, and I watched your sister become what she became." "What do you mean?" "Lauren was always difficult, even as a teenager. Your parents tried so hard with her, but she wanted what she wanted, and she didn't care who got hurt." She showed me her Ring camera footage. Video from April 6th, 3:15 in the afternoon. Blake and Lauren throwing boxes onto the lawn. Audio clear. Blake's voice. "The estate belongs to my wife now. You're trespassing." "I'll give this to your lawyer," Mrs. Kowalski said. "And I'll testify if you need me to. Your father was a good man. He wouldn't have wanted this." That night, back at the hotel, I opened the envelope I'd found in one of the boxes, the one with my name in my father's handwriting. The letter inside was dated March 5th, 2018. The same day he'd executed the disinheritance. He'd written it 8 years ago. "Tilly, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And knowing Lauren, she's probably tried to take everything. I want you to know something. I saw you. Your whole life, everyone overlooked you. Treated you like you were invisible. But I saw you. I saw you working beside me every day. I saw your loyalty, your kindness, your strength. I made mistakes as a father. I should have stood up for you more. I should have told Lauren to treat you better. I should have made you feel valued while I was alive to say it. But I can do this. I can make sure you're not erased after I'm gone. The house is yours. Legally. The business is yours. The estate is yours. Not because you're my daughter, though you are, and I'm proud of that, but because you earned it. Every day you showed up. Every day you did the work. Every day you were there. Don't let Lauren or anyone else tell you different. Don't let them make you feel small You are enough. You are always enough. I love you. I'm sorry I didn't say it more. Trust Arthur Brennan. He has everything you need. I sat on that hotel bed and cried, not from grief, from recognition. He had seen me, all along. On the morning of April 9th, I got ready carefully. Put on the same black dress I'd worn to the funeral. Drove downtown to Brennan's office, arrived at 9:55, 5 minutes early. My phone buzzed. Text from Brennan. They're here. Lauren brought Blake. They look confident. This is going to be satisfying. I walked into the building, took the elevator to the 3rd floor, down the hall to the conference room. The door was open. Inside, Brennan at the head of the table. Lauren and Blake on his left. George Paulson and Mrs. Kowalski seated along the sides. Janet Morris, Brennan's paralegal, taking notes. I walked in. Lauren looked up, smiled, cold, like she'd already won. Thank you all for coming, Brennan said. We're here for the reading of Donald James Saunders's last will and testament, executed March 10, 2020. I'll also be presenting additional estate documents and evidence relevant to inheritance claims. Lauren leaned forward. Can we just get started? This should be straightforward. Brennan's smile was slight, professional. It will be. Very straightforward. The clock on the wall read 10:02. Brennan opened the will, read the standard language. Then, I leave my personal property, vehicles, personal effects, and any assets remaining in my name to my daughter Tilly Mae Saunders, named herein as sole beneficiary and executor. Blake sat up straight. Wait. Sole beneficiary? What about Lauren? I'm getting to that. There's 2 daughters. Shouldn't it be split? Not according to this will, and not according to the estate structure Donald created. Brennan pulled out another document. Let me show you the timeline. He slid a piece of paper across the table. Lauren's hand gripped the edge, knuckles white. On March 5, 2018, Donald Saunders executed a formal disinheritance of Lauren Elizabeth Saunders. The document is notarized, witnessed by myself and George Paulson, and has been on file for 8 years. Blake leaned forward, read the paper. Lauren Elizabeth Saunders is hereby removed as beneficiary from any and all estate planning documents. He looked up. What? When did this happen? Lauren said quietly. Blake? When did this happen, Lauren? She didn't answer. George spoke up. In February of 2018, Lauren stole $65,000 from Saunders Legal Services business account. She used the money to cover gambling debts and to pay legal fees for a boyfriend who was facing fraud charges. Donald confronted her. She admitted it. Promised to pay it back. She never did. Blake stared at Lauren. You... What? It was a long time ago. You stole from your father? George slid bank statements across the table. She did. And that's why Donald removed her from his will. Blake's voice went flat. You never told me. You never said any of this. Brennan continued. On March 18, 2021, Donald transferred ownership of the family home at 623 Oakwood Avenue to Tilly Saunders via quitclaim deed. It was filed with Washtenaw County and has been in Tilly's name for 5 years. Silence. The house you've been occupying since April 6th? Brennan said calmly. The house you changed the locks on? The house you threw Tilly out of? It's been legally hers since 2021. Blake's face drained of color. That's not possible. Brennan slid the deed copy across the table. County records? Public? You could have checked. Blake looked at Lauren. She wouldn't meet his eyes. So when you kicked Tilly out, Brennan said, you were the trespassers, not her. Brennan kept going. Business ownership transferred in 2020. Life insurance beneficiary, Tilly. Retirement accounts. Beneficiary, Tilly. Bank accounts, Tilly. Donald transferred or designated virtually all his assets to Tilly between 2018 and 2023. What remains in his estate for probate purposes is approximately $95,000 in personal property and vehicles. That also goes to Tilly per the will. Blake stood up, started pacing. So there's no inheritance? Not for Lauren. No. He turned on her. The estate you said we'd inherit, the $1 million, the house, the business. None of it? Lauren whispered. Blake, I can explain. Explain. You've been lying to me for 6 years. Mrs. Kowalski raised her hand slightly. I have video footage of what you did on April 6th. Would you like to see it? Brennan pulled out his laptop, played the Ring camera footage. Blake throwing boxes, his voice clear. The estate belongs to my wife now. Then Brennan played the second video. My father. Recorded in January. His face on the screen. His voice filling the room. My name is Donald James Saunders. Today is January 15th, 2026. I'm 68 years old, and I'm of sound mind. Lauren Elizabeth Saunders was formally disinherited on March 5, 2018, after she stole $65,000 from my business. The disinheritance stands. It is final. My estate goes to Tilly Mae Saunders. The video ended. Lauren stared at the screen, at her father's face. Dead man speaking. No way to argue. Blake's voice was quiet now. Dangerous. Did you know? When you threw Tilly out, did you know the house wasn't yours? Lauren's silence was answer enough. Blake turned to Brennan. She knew. She had to know. He stopped. Realization hitting. That's why we never came to Ann Arbor. That's why she avoided her father. That's why she never let me talk to him about the estate. She knew she was cut out. Blake, I'm sorry, Brennan said. But yes, Lauren has known since 2018 that she had no inheritance. She never disclosed that to you. Blake grabbed his jacket, looked at Lauren one more time. You thought? Or you lied? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Blake walked out. Didn't look back. The door closed. Lauren sat frozen. Then she turned to me. Tilly, I kept my voice calm. Cold. You kicked me out of my own house. You threw my mother's photos in the dirt. You called me a trespasser 3 hours after we buried our father. And you did it knowing you had no right. I'm your sister. No, you were my sister. But you chose money over family. You chose lies over truth. And you chose to hurt me when I was grieving. I'm sorry. I don't think you are. I think you're sorry you got caught. Brennan handed me paperwork. Executor documents, keys to the house, business transfer papers. Lauren left. Quiet. Broken. The golden child who'd lost everything. The next day, April 10th, Lauren was still in the house. My house. She refused to leave, said she needed time to process. I called the Ann Arbor Police Department. Officer Jackson responded. Ma'am, is this your property? I showed him the deed. Yes, recorded in 2021. I'm the legal owner. And the person inside? My sister. She changed my locks, threw me out during my father's funeral, and has been occupying my property for 4 days. He radioed for backup. We'll handle this. Police report number 202-64820. Criminal trespassing. Lauren was escorted out, given 24 hours to remove her belongings, warned that returning would result in arrest. Her face as they led her out wasn't defiant anymore. It was destroyed. On April 11th, Blake moved out of their Chicago condo. He texted Lauren from a hotel. I'm staying at the Hilton. Don't contact me. I need to think. On April 13th, he hired a divorce attorney. Papers filed April 20th. Grounds: fraud, concealment, material misrepresentation. Lauren called him 23 times on April 11th alone. He answered once. The conversation lasted 4 minutes. He hung up. Didn't answer again. Between April 12th and 20th, Lauren tried calling me. 17 times. 31 text messages. Voicemails. Voicemail number 3, April 12th. Tilly, please. We need to talk. I know I made mistakes, but we're family. You can't just cut me out. Voicemail number 9, April 15th. Dad would have wanted us to work this out. He wouldn't have wanted you to destroy my life like this. Voicemail number 17, April 20th. How could you do this to me? How could you take everything? You were always jealous. You always wanted what I had, and now you've got it. I hope you're happy. I listened to every voicemail, saved them, didn't respond. Word spread fast in Ann Arbor. Lauren Saunders kicked her sister out at their father's funeral, but the house was actually the sisters all along. Turned out Lauren had been stealing from the family for years. By April 18th, the story was everywhere. People crossed the street to avoid Lauren when she came back to collect her belongings. Her consulting business lost 3 clients within a week. Reason cited: reputational concerns. On April 18th, Blake sent me one text. Not angry, just sad. Tilly, I'm sorry for what I said and did at the funeral. I didn't know. Lauren told me the estate was hers. I believed her. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I was wrong. I'm filing for divorce. I can't be married to someone who built our entire relationship on a lie. I hope you're okay. I responded. Thank you for saying that. I hope you're okay too. I meant it. Blake wasn't the villain. He was collateral damage. On April 22nd, I went back to the house, my house, changed the locks again, started making it mine. The house still carried the faint scent of funeral flowers and lingering grief. I walked slowly through every room, touching the walls and remembering happier times. In Dad's office, I found Mom's half-finished knitted sweater hanging in the closet. I held it to my chest and let the tears fall. Then, little by little, I began turning the house into my own home. I painted the kitchen, fixed the front porch steps, cleaned out my father's office, and in the bottom drawer of his desk, taped underneath, I found one more envelope. To Tilly. Open only after everything is settled. Inside was a letter dated January 14th, 2026, one day before he'd recorded that video. Tilly, if you found this, it means you've been through the will reading. You've heard the truth about Lauren. You've seen what I set up to protect you. I want you to know something important. I didn't give you the house and the business because Lauren didn't deserve them. I gave them to you because you did. You showed up every day. You cared about the work. You treated clients with respect. You never asked for recognition. You just did what needed to be done. That's who you are. Not invisible, not overlooked, essential. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that enough when I was alive. I'm sorry I let Lauren overshadow you. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you more clearly. But I can tell you now, you were always the daughter I was proudest of. Not because of what you achieved, because of who you are. You're kind, you're strong, you're honest. And you don't need anyone's approval, not even mine, to know your worth. Live your life, Tilly. Build something beautiful. And don't let anyone make you feel small ever again. I love you. I believe in you. And I'm sorry I didn't say it every single day. I sat in his office and cried, not from grief anymore, from release. On April 24th, Lauren sent one more email. Subject: Can we talk? I read it, thought about it, then responded, Lauren, I don't hate you. But I also can't have you in my life. What you did at the funeral, kicking me out, humiliating me, claiming ownership of my home, that wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, and it showed me who you are. You've spent your whole life trying to be the golden child, trying to be the favorite, trying to get what you thought you deserved. But you never earned it. And when Dad saw that, he made a different choice. I'm not interested in reconciliation right now. Maybe not ever. What I'm interested in is living my life without having to prove I deserve space in it. I hope you figure out who you are without the performance. I hope you find peace. But I need you to understand, I'm done being erased. Take care of yourself. I hit send, then blocked her email, blocked her phone number. Clean boundary. She never responded. Maybe she understood. Maybe she didn't. Either way, it wasn't my concern anymore. On April 25th, I met with George Paulson. We formalized a new partnership agreement. The firm was renamed Saunders and Paulson Legal Services, 50-50 split. You sure you want to do this? George asked. Your father built this practice. And you helped him. You were there when Lauren stole. You supported him. You deserve this. Then we're partners. Partners. By the end of April, I'd settled into the house, into my life. My father's photo on the mantle, my mother's recipe cards in the kitchen. The pearl necklace, found in Lauren's old bedroom, hidden in a jewelry box, back around my neck where it belonged. On April 30th, I sat on the front porch with my morning coffee. The same porch where Blake had stood 4 weeks earlier, telling me I was nothing. Mrs. Kowalski waved from next door. I waved back. I thought about the past month, about everything my father had done to protect me, about the truth that had finally come out, about Lauren's lies unraveling, about Blake's devastation, about the estate that was never theirs. And I thought about what my father had written in that final letter. You don't need anyone's approval to know your worth. I'd spent my whole life feeling invisible, feeling like I had to earn the right to take up space, like I had to prove I deserved to exist in my own family. But I didn't. I never did. I was always enough. I just needed to believe it. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been told you were nothing, if you've ever been erased by people who were supposed to love you, I want you to know something. You are enough. You were always enough. You don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. You don't need to prove anything. Sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is simply refusing to disappear. Subscribe if you want more stories about people who refuse to stay invisible. Comment Tilly below with your city if this story meant something to you. And share this with someone who needs to hear that they matter. Because you do. You always did. This is Tilly Saunders. And this is the story of how I took back everything they tried to erase.